Welcome to Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster, and I have a special guest with me today. I'll tell you about that in a few, but of course, I'm going to tell you, if you're watching it from Facebook, please share it. If you're watching it from YouTube, subscribe to it. And I just want to run down the sponsors to you. Can you believe it's August 17th already? September is here. Next thing you know, we'll be singing, like I put up a post, we'll be buying Halloween costumes and Thanksgiving and stuff like that. With that being said and saying all that, Real Talk Chronicles is sponsored by the Daily Arts of Survival magazine. It's also sponsored by Storf Delusions Art Gallery. It's sponsored by Melba Wilson. It's sponsored by Leon Ellis Chocolat and Harlem Underground. It's also sponsored by Ingram Taxes. Some people still need their taxes done. You know, you playing out there with whomever, you're going to mess around. Don't play with the IRS. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to play with the IRS. So reach out to Ingram Taxes. They will help you out, like I said. And also Reggie Wells Quality Speakers. What's up, Curtis? What's up, Rochelle? Oh, I got my brother Jacob Ingram in the building. You mentioned he's the one of the authors, editors of, and co-founders of the Daily Arts of Survival magazine, #1 martial arts magazine in the world. Rochelle, how are you? So tonight, without that and saying all that, Real Talk, the first Monday of the month, Assemblyman Al Taylor. The second Monday of the month, Dr. Marilyn Corder. The third Monday of the month, we had Allison Williams. This Monday coming up, we have Dr. Corder, Fred Corder, Marilyn's husband, my other cousin, and we'll be talking about mental health issues for a person. So shout out to everybody else. Exactly. So anybody out there that doesn't need, you want IRS on your behind, reach out to Jacob Ingram. He's right here in the group too, and he's one of the sponsors. Without that, saying all of that, getting it all out the way, tonight we will be talking about domestic violence. I personally seems like a lot of domestic violence has sparked, or you have people right now killing themselves and their exes or their relation, the person that they were in a relationship with, and then posting it on social media. We just had a situation not too long ago in the world where a man stabbed his ex or the woman he was seeing like 19 times, and they had 6 children. So last week we were talking about domestic violence and saying all that. So I got to call my girl. I got to call an expert to the panel on this joint, so we can have this kind of conversation. So we can talk about the do's and the don'ts, and does it work? Law enforcement work along with domestic violence. So without saying all of that, I'd like to introduce Enid Acacia. How are you?
Hello. Hi. How are you? Excited to be back.
Yes.
Always excited to be back.
Absolutely. Yes, because Enid has been here before, and she is part of the Real Talk family. So I sent her the text right after the show, and I was like, Enid, I need you on the show. She was like, I can do it. I said, so great. That was awesome. So Enid, just tell people what you do within regards to domestic violence, please.
Okay, so I do a lot of advocacy, so a lot of awareness. First and foremost, the awareness, letting people know where to go, what to do, how to identify, because a lot of times people don't realize that they are in a domestic violence circumstance because it's so normal to them. They've either grown around it, we're reared around it, we're just seen it and have been the subject of it for so long that they don't even identify. Not only that, but there are particular forms of abuse that are not being considered as a form of abuse. And so therefore, they're not. It always brings me back to the movie Maids last year during October, which is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Netflix was showing this series, Maids. I don't know if it's still on, but it really it depicted the reality of what many victims, and I'm not going to say men or female, because we all can be subject to being a victim of domestic violence. But again, so just creating the awareness, identifying it, providing the resources, letting people know where to go, how to go about it. Also, even with the officers, sometimes I may be able to explain to them what what the victim is going through, so that they may be able to handle the jobs a little bit better. But definitely, most of the time, it's creating the awareness.
So when we talk about awareness, go into detail for me when you mean awareness, because I think a lot of times people may have a misnomer of what domestic violence is. It can come from all forms: verbal, physical. So please elaborate on things like that.
Right. So when I say awareness, I'm saying exactly as you're indicating, identifying the forms of abuse. What are the forms of abuse? What is gaslighting? What is male privilege, or what is privilege, period, right? In general.
Mm-hmm.
What is coercing? What is sexual coercing? What would financial abuse look like? A lot of times people just identify financial abuse as someone not letting the other work. But there's so much more to that. Maybe not allowing somebody to get an education, or maybe not allowing somebody to advance in their education so that they can advance in their career. So it's always a suppressant, it's like it's suppressing somebody from increasing, from elevating, from growing in that aspect. But and that's just the tip of the iceberg, because we
Right.
can also go through, what is victim blaming, and many of times we do it unconsciously, because we don't really understand what it is that the individual is going through, right? So, and this is the most known, basically,
Go
is
ahead.
why don't they leave? Why are they still there? They must like it. Now, we've had this conversation before, Bill, and I
Yes.
always ask, who in the world would like to get smacked, punched, kicked, spat at? Who likes that?
Right. Right. Right.
So we got to see at what is it that is keeping the individual there? What is
Yes.
it that is being taken away from them, that, that won't allow them to be able to get out of the circumstance?
Yeah. And we'll definitely run some of those stuff down. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. This is Enid Ocasio. She's an advocate for domestic violence. We're leaving her personal profession out because it's her profession, and got to go through so many different things and channels and stuff like that. So right now we just superseded that, and she came on here as just Enid Ocasio, the advocate. With that being said, Real Talk Chronicles was sponsored by Ingram Taxes, Soft Illusion, other things that I'll mention, of course, tonight, Daily Arts of the Magazine. If you have some comments and questions, please put them in. I will be putting on my glasses so I can read some of them. Um, what's up, Yolanda? Padilla, she said emotional, mental, so many different forms of it. Shout out to everybody that's chiming in. Curtis, my man, he said, Bill, the stories that being told you can't make up. Some people, so many things, so many different things. As an EMS worker, I've been on calls that an average person will think differently. Absolutely. I think a lot of people from professional standpoints, we see things up close and personal. I just got a text about, I would call it more assault. Enid, are you on WhatsApp?
I
Yeah,
am.
I'll send it to you later. But I think that is more assault. I don't know if they had a physical relationship, but the fact that just seeing a man hit a woman is just totally disgusting to me. And first of all, I don't want to see anybody hit anybody.
I was just going to say that either way,
Yeah,
male hitting each other does not.
yeah, it's not cute. Um, I know there's glare. I'm looking at this glare on me. But I say all that to say, so when people always talk about why don't you leave? Talk about that aspect of maybe it's not as easy to leave as people think it is. Okay, I'll let
Right.
you. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So we always instead of asking why didn't they leave, or making any other comments that I hear on a constant basis, is
Mm-hmm.
it should be more of, what is your need?
Right, right.
Why? I mean, not why, I'm sorry. What can we do to
Mm-hmm.
aid in the process? Right? So, and again, I always call it an escape, because a person can never just get up and say, I've had it, I'm packing a bag and I'm leaving and I'm getting out of here.
Right.
That just doesn't happen that way. Right. And statistics have indicated that it takes up to 7 times before a woman would actually get out of a circumstance, of a relationship. And in that time, it's the most detrimental, because that's where many of them have either ultimately gotten killed or severely hurt. Because remember, the offender is losing control, and so they're going to exert more power. Right? So therefore,
so a lot of this is about control.
All of it is about control and the power. So power and control, basically. Right? So, domestic violence in and of itself is a pattern of forceful behavior used to establish and maintain that power and control. Now, the question I always ask is, what is it that is being used to establish and maintain that power and control? That's where the forms of abuse come about. That's what is being used to establish and maintain. And it starts very subtly. And when I say subtly, sometimes it's not as subtle, but because the person, the victim, let's identify a victim and offender. The victim wants to be with the offender so bad, or has developed this feeling called love, which I always say, this love thing is a real thing. Love factor is real.
Okay.
Music has been made out of it, right? The things we do for love.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
And let's talk about that for a second. Because sometimes, I mean, this is a whole big, deeper thing with it, but some people stay in relationships because they don't want to come out of it, because it'll seem like they're a failure. You know what I'm saying? That's another aspect of it. So now you're caught up in this abusive relationship, and which they may have seen from their parents, or they could have witnessed it, or there's just been a victim of it. And so I've had somebody tell me one time, when they were in an abusive relationship, that they thought it was their fault because the person would blame them. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. So that's what we call the emotional and psychological abuse, right? So the emotional abuse has been instilled in the victim for so long and so detrimentally that they find blame in themselves. And the perfect example that I always give is where a victim will say, and actually believe it, not only say it, but they actually believe that, you know what, it is my fault, because this person says they love me, and because they love me is the reason why they treat me this way, or why they do the things that they do. So, you know what, let me change me to what it is that they're telling me that I should change to.
Right.
I'm the problem. Right.
Yes.
But this is how they start to think, but it's because the offender has been putting it for so long that it is their problem. It's your problem. You did this. You make me angry. You don't do as I say. You don't do as I want you to do, or you don't. And it's always you, meaning the victim. And so the victim then starts to think, okay, well, you know what? So then it's me. I'm the problem. So I have to change.
Yeah. I'm gonna read a comment. Thank you, Curtis. I'm just gonna read this because this means a lot to me. He says, your platform is letting people know what's going on. Keep up the wonderful job. Real talk. I appreciate that, Curtis. Yolanda Padilla said, the systems in place make it hard for women. Unless you know how to fight the system, it's hard. I know I went through that when I was in my 30s. It's also learning to love yourself enough to leave everything behind. Wow. Do you want to comment on that? Or
Yes. I'm glad they whoever made the comment. Yeah, that's a very, very, very good point, because yes, I'm finding that there are more incidents occurring than there are resources to be rendered. Right? Because there's limited of individuals. And I got to say this, COVID did not help any at all. We're still trying to recuperate from COVID.
Okay.
So that didn't help any. And not only that, but again, as the person was saying, it's just very difficult. The whole circumstance is difficult. The
Yeah.
whole issue is difficult to deal with. So, dealing with the red tape, dealing with, what agencies would consider more grave than a next kind of
Hmm.
thing is sad. It's just sad, to hear. And then not only that, but I don't want to beat a dead horse, but these reform laws are not helping any either.
I'm glad you said that, because a lot of times people think they are when they're really not, especially for those of us that know, that work in certain agencies, that know from behind the scenes that they don't work, and or they're not working to the best of their ability.
Right.
Uh, let's talk about that. Let's go from a point of a victim feeling like they they come forward and tell the authorities, and it doesn't work. The order of protection doesn't help. Like let's elaborate on that a little bit, because I know from a law enforcement standpoint, it's my job to arrest if there's a domestic violence situation. Then I inform the person to go to, once the person gets charged or gets found guilty of this crime, then you can go and get an order of protection. But that order of protection doesn't mean anything really to certain degrees, because the person, if he doesn't care about the order of protection, he'll still come around a family. If the person, they have a child in common, if they're married, where does he have to go stay? So then sometimes I've seen some things where about order of protection, you still can be in the same dwelling, but you can't have you can't come within 5 feet of each other. Like crazy nonsense like that. Can you talk about stuff like that?
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Well, I've mentioned before, I'm not the person to really recommend order protections. Uh,
Right.
I sometimes feel that puts the person in a more detrimental state,
Okay.
if we say it that way, right? Uh,
Hmm.
and of course, a lot of times that's what's always being encouraged. Get an order of protection. Um, you know, what I can say is, and what I do ask is, if the offender is scared of the law, does the offender have or may feel some sort of deterrent if
Hmm.
law enforcement is involved?
Right.
If you're going to take them through the judicial system. And if the answer is no, first of all, I'm going to ask, what are the priors? What are the things that are being done? What's this person's character? Things of that nature. And of course, if they're always in the street, if they're in and out of jail, if they're always getting into it with law enforcement and things of that nature, I know automatically an order of protection is not going to do anything.
Right. Right.
Literally, for them, it is just a piece of paper that's telling them that they can't do this, that, or the other. And of course, because they have this, heroic demeanor for themselves, that they're like, what? That's not going to stop me. I'm still going to
Exactly.
do what I'm going to do, right? So that's why I don't recommend it. Many of times, we'll try to find other means.
What's so funny? Some for them, especially since you say a lot of things are not working today. Back then, it kind of infuriated some people. It was like,
Yeah.
what? You got to order protection against me? I'll
Mhm.
kill you now.
It made matters worse. And
Yes.
that's what I say, it made matters worse. And not only that, but there is information, because remember, the other person has to be served. The offender has to get served.
Yep.
And there's information that is on there that now you're rendering to that individual. I don't
Yep.
want you to know where I live. I don't want you to know what I can and cannot do and where I can go and how
Hmm.
far I can do this, that, or the other. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of things that again, it can be helpful to that person who will find it as a deterrent, right?
Yes.
So that law-abiding citizen who says that, who believes, or who knows that things are going to be taken from them, and they really don't want that being taken from them and things of that nature. Like
Mhm.
your license could be suspended or canceled or whatever they call it now.
Yes.
Registration, like all these things can happen.
Yeah.
But if they matter, if that matters to the individual, okay, do it. Let's go that route.
Yeah.
if that person doesn't give two craps about it, it's not going to do anything.
Absolutely. Let me
You
just
know,
read a couple of comments.
they're going to rip, going to throw on the floor,
Yeah. Let me read a couple of comments. Curtis said, okay, wait a minute. Oh, the system. Yolanda Padilla said again, she said, the systems in place make it hard for the woman. Unless you know how to fight, the system is hard. Oh, yeah, okay. She said, I went through this on 30. Curtis said, do you bring your past relationship into your future? No.
Right. Leave your past in your past. It's done and over. You're move forward.
Yeah.
The only thing I can say is what you bring with you is that memory and how you didn't like it, and you don't want to see it again.
And you know what's so funny? Years ago, I remember I was trying to get to know a young lady, and she was like, "Yo, this dude is crazy. This dude is crazy. He just is crazy. He'll beat my ass, and he'll fight anybody. I don't, you know." And one day, I dropped her off somewhere, and he came running up to the car, and I guess he must have saw that like this will get different for you. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, and she just had to like to explain, like, yo, he's dropping me off. But I'm looking at dude like,
try me.
Yeah, like she said, I'm dropping her off. Like don't take it someplace where it doesn't have to go, and not to get into anybody else's problem. Because the one thing too, a lot of people, when you meet women going through domestic violence situations, your thought process is, if I get involved and I hurt this dude, we both in jail, or he hurt me, she going on to somebody. You know what I'm saying? I think it's really about weighing your options and what you feel you really need to get involved in or not get involved in.
Well, let me go a step further. Let me go a step further from that.
Sure.
Or maybe they get back together.
Yeah.
Which is now you're like, wait, what? I done did this for you, and you just went right back to them. Yeah. And then people are like, forget this. You know, like, you can have that cake and you can eat it, kind
Absolutely.
of a thing.
And I've known of a situation like that too. And so it's so funny. Yolanda Padilla also says, she said, it's low self-esteem. Women need to stand up and get out of those relationships that endangering them or their children. She also says, yes, the red tape prosecutors, domestic violence can only help if there's an arrest. Curtis Ali also said, he said, after the OJ case, the order of protection went out the window. Yep. Yolanda also states, she says, Bill, yes, with me, it was 13 calls. Police didn't do anything until I got a sword placed to my neck. Wow. They were even willing to allow him to stay in the house. 14 situations, but I was relentless, got lawyers, advocates involved, took it to Supreme Court. Women show up, stand up, take it to the end. They deserve to pay for assaulting. Yeah, exactly. She says, my husband did 2 years. Boom, hold that. I hear that. And Curtis also says the police department will look at you like, really, dude, you scared of a female? You know, it's a crazy situation. It's a crazy situation that we have here. This is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster, with my special guest, Enid Ocasio, and we're talking domestic violence. She's an expert in this situation. So, you know, if you know anybody, please share this YouTube video, this Facebook video with them. So maybe, we'll make sure that she has something that if you have to reach out to her, if you need advice, you need some kind of help. What are things afforded women? And I want to say women, because we always think of the woman in the domestic violence. I mean, a lot of times, you know, men can be a victim of domestic violence too, or we can also talk about same-sex relationships.
Yes.
You know, do you see a spike in that since the pandemic, or is that just?
Yeah, all around.
Yeah.
All around. We've seen a spike in men. We've seen a spike with LGBTQ plus A.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people who never were really having issues were now having issues.
Due to the pandemic.
Because, I mean, but that's just the nature of the beast, right? When you have people on lockdown, where normally you're not that close in proximity to each other every day, all day.
Yeah.
And, so, I mean, yeah, you're going to get on somebody's nerves. kind of.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially depending on the size of the dwelling and then what's being said. Oh, all of a sudden now a person was at work, but now they're home and their phone's ringing at a certain time. And you're like, who's that? Don't ask me no damn questions. Let me see your phone. Now the shit goes into that. You know what I'm saying?
Funny
Yeah.
that because I had a case where um, it was more the wife questioning, like, your phone go off like this all day?
Yeah.
Like, this what this, who you talk to all day? Kind of
Yeah.
thing. So
Yeah, be like, you don't call me. You know what I'm saying? You don't call me, but your shit is blowing up. You know what I'm saying? Yolanda said, no one has the right to abuse you. Even children have become abusive. Let's talk about that. Have you experienced, children abusing their parents?
Yes, because, and this is why I always say, be very careful what you do in front of children, right? Children are sponges. And not only that, but remember, they emulate for all who have children. Okay. And I've seen this with my boys when I was rearing them. If I was doing exercise, they wanted to do exercise. If I'm sitting down watching a movie, they want to watch the movie. They always want to do what the adults are doing.
Absolutely.
And we're their first role models. So therefore, if you're constantly, okay, so I attended to a case where the lady was like, my son is talking to me like my husband talks to me. And, just to get a better understanding, I was like, what does that look like?
Yeah.
Describe it to me. And she'll say, well, if we're going out, he'll stand by the door and go, Ma, hurry up. What are you doing? What's taking you so long? Where does he get that? He's emulating the dad. That's what the dad does. So same thing, as a matter of fact, and I was going to have my son record this. There was a snippet on this weekend. Tiger Woods' son was at the golf, with, I don't know much about golf. So whatever that.
There was on the green. Okay.
Right. And if you saw his son, same mannerism, picked up the golf club the way he did, shifted, like it was everything like his dad.
Mimicked his father. Yes.
To the T. That's what our children do. Right. They mimic the parents. So if you are yelling, if you're throwing stuff, if you're like, I'm noticing my grandson, like, because my son tends to always shout the questions instead of just, like, what are you doing? No, it's, what are you doing? And I'm noticing that my grandson, I'm like, why are you yelling?
Right.
And then it'll bring him down. But again, it all goes to what they see, what they hear, what's around them.
Yeah, that's big. Yolanda said, no one has the right to abuse you. Even she said that. Even children. Curtis said, a new relationship is when you come with luggage. If your mate accepts your luggage, you're good to go. Yes, I made that a few years ago. Absolutely. But Yolanda also said, we are in charge of them. They need therapy. One should never neglect the signs. Children, even young adults with manipulative behaviors. Chris says, this is so much info that makes me so much appreciate. Keep up the wonderful. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. That's Enia DeCasio, and I'm Bill Forster, and she is the expert in domestic violence. And this is what Real Talk is about, trying to give you a platform where, you can get intel and information to help you become a better person. Because I'm sure there are so many people out there that have been slapped, pushed, choked, and it has scarred them. Even somebody, you play with somebody and they be like, oh, wait. You be like, what you jumping for? You be like, yo, like, then, here comes the unpacking of the suitcase. You be like, well, the dude I used to date, he used to hit me, or you be like, what? So, like, don't even play like that. And then, they be like, oh, I'm out. I don't even want. You're like, wait a minute, but I wasn't going to do that. Well, it just triggers something, and nobody gets therapy from that. Do you suggest people get therapy after sometimes domestic violence?
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And at all levels. It doesn't have to be a physicality situation for
Mhm.
you to get assistance. And I'm a strong encourager for therapy.
Mhm.
Family therapy, single therapy, however you may be able to get it. And it doesn't necessarily mean, this is what I explain to people. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It's
Mhm.
just that it gives you another perspective, right?
Right, 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 right.
It's nothing to do with you, have never seen you, knows nothing about you. But they extract information that sometimes, and I say this out of experience. Remember, Bill, I told you I was a victim, right? I'm a survivor of this demon.
Mhm.
And I remember when I was going through counseling, there was a lot of stuff that I was like, I had a lot of aha moments. Because once again, when they're asking questions or whatever, when you're in the circumstance, there's a lot that is not seen, that is not heard, that is not considered, right? But when you are speaking with other people and they're giving you maybe their perspective, and you're like, oh, wow, well, I didn't look at it that way. So,
Yeah.
they're giving you other ways to be able to handle circumstances. But most important, I think somebody else mentioned self-care.
Yes. Yes.
Very important. Very important. And it, I have a Facebook, I have an Instagram, I have a LinkedIn, I have a Twitter, I have a social media platform, and I post the stuff that I'm doing, right? Not only on the job, but that I do for myself. To the point,
Absolutely.
oh, you always doing this, that, and the other. And sometimes you just want to turn around and go mind your business. But in another time, other times I want to say, what are you doing for you? That's what I did for me. What are you doing for you? Because it's important.
Okay.
So going through therapy, going through, and if there is medication that needs to be had, it needs to be had. It's only going to work for your good.
So um let's run down. I don't know if there's a numeric number with these things, but let's run down the signs of domestic violence. The
Uh,
beginning stages, if they or you could just name whatever you want to you could recall, or if you can spew off. I
I'm
know.
going to be very simple. It
Mhm.
boils down to this. Whatever makes you feel uncomfortable, don't dismiss it.
Okay.
Don't
All right.
dismiss it. If anything made you feel uncomfortable, speak about it. Let know that, it made you feel uncomfortable. You're not too keen with it and you wouldn't want it to happen again. And if it happens again, okay, that's where, I've mentioned this before, and I say this all the time because I said I really want people to get into the habit of, and again, because it's what helped me, is to not get into the habit of collecting the red flags,
Mm-hmm.
because then you have too many and then you don't know what to do with them, which is why then we sit in circumstances, because now we're so deep in that now it drowns us and we can't get out. We don't know how to get out, or we don't have the strength to have to get out, right? So that's where, so the minute that you start to see the signs, anything that makes you feel uncomfortable, something that was not, and there's something Steve Harvey says, women have this intuition,
Mm-hmm.
and whenever you have that intuition, follow it, because it's never wrong. You know,
Yeah.
if you're feeling unnerved about something, if something got on your nerves or whatever, talk about it. If the person does not acknowledge your feelings, that's a big one.
Mm.
Oh, but don't feel that way. No, that's not. I felt that way. Don't tell me how to feel. That's how I felt. You know,
Okay. So let me say this. I guess jealousy can be a maybe a plateau to domestic violence.
oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Um, okay, so jealousy is a big one because of the misconception of it, right?
Okay.
People feel that oh, well, they didn't like that I was talking to somebody else, so they got a little unnerved by it or whatever. There's something with talking to somebody else because you're just talking, like, let's say if I see you in the street and we talk and, hey, how you doing or whatever, and now the person that I'm with is, like, who's that and why are you talking and why you seem so bubbly with them. Okay, listen, before you, I had a life. With you, I have a life.
Yeah.
Without you, I'll continue to have a life.
Yes. It's called friends.
And
Childhood,
and you don't dismiss your friends because, which now that there's another aspect to that jealousy where now they isolate you from people because they feel uncomfortable with you having, a friendship, so-called, with somebody else.
Yeah.
Anyone, and this could be male or female because they don't have a gender, a preference.
Yes.
Their whole thing in their mind is that this person could actually tell you what the reality is, right? And so therefore they don't want the offender calls that like they're poisoning you.
Okay.
Right. So that it's not being poisoned, is just, a good friend will tell somebody, you know what, you don't look happy lately. You want to talk about it? What do you mean? Oh, well, since you started dating so-and-so, you haven't done this, that, or the other. Or you have been doing this, that, or the other. It'll be different things.
And what's funny, I'll say, I always tell people, when you start dating somebody and you get in a relationship, the first 2 years, you accrue, you accrue that happy weight. And, that's the dating, you just going out, you're eating, you're coming home, whatever, relaxing, you're spending time with each other all the time, especially when you're young. When you're older now, we got responsibilities.
Right.
You're like, okay, I see you when I see you. But I mean, you're conversing with somebody a lot. But that being said, but talk about what depression can do to somebody in domestic violence too. It can make you binge. It can make you drink. It can make you do a lot.
A lot of things. Yes. Yes. Yeah. It can just sink you to the point where you don't eat, or maybe, like you said, binging. Maybe you may overeat.
Yes. Or you don't fix your hair anymore, or something like that. You don't.
Exactly. Your weight is gone. Your whole, you used to always do your hair every other week. Now that's not getting done. Yeah. There's so many things. There's so many things, but if we want to go with the cosmetology part of it, not making no makeup, no hair, no nails, no dress up, none of that. Or people go into alcohol.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Or going out to places, like the character is not theirs anymore.
Right.
It's not who they were.
Yeah.
Right. They're doing things that are totally different. Ultimately, to the most severe, which can be cutting, which could be actually suicidal attempts. And that can be in many ways, forms, and fashions. Over drinking, taking medication, pills. Not only pills. I've seen people like chunk down NyQuil.
Yeah.
Things of that nature. It's just, or just they can develop insomnia, not being able to sleep.
Yeah.
That can also be also be imparted by the offender through a physical abuse, which a lot of times people don't look at that as a physical abuse.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So not letting somebody have a good night's sleep can be part of a physical abuse.
Yeah. Just nagging them, harassing them, asking them a bunch of questions.
Right.
When you want to say, just shut the F up. I want to go to bed. You know what I'm saying?
But now you're all worked up and your nerves are all cracking. Then now you can't even go to bed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So now you get up and, okay, all right, what do you want to know? And now you're up all night and maybe you have to go to work the next day or whatever. So you're missing days from work. Now your productivity has gone down. Now the absentee has risen. So there's a lot of things that come into play.
Yeah. We're going to comment on that, and because my man Curtis Ali said, why do people want to change people? So we're going to hold that thought. That's a whole nother topic, but we'll try to deal with that. I just want to read some comments. My man Mark said, "A man who hits a woman for whatever reason is a coward. A woman who feels like she can put her hands on you needs to go through the system. I have never assaulted a woman because, and I plan on never to be assaulted by one either. As a man, I can't stand by and allow a woman to be assaulted. But I do remember coming to a female aid because she was getting choked by her boyfriend. Before it was all over, I had to leave because love must have been more important than that black guy she had. Absolutely."
Okay, I want to
Oh,
comment on that.
go
I
ahead,
want to
please.
comment on that because a lot of times, again, remember, well, not remember. I want to apprise you that that victim, be it male, be it female, they're in survival mode. They have to show the offender that they were on their side. Because remember,
Even if they get, and I'm being facetious with my terminology, even if they get their ass beat, right? So now they have to, yeah.
exactly, because it's their survival mode. Because you're going to leave the scene. I got to go back home with this person.
Right.
And it's only going to be worse when I get home if I'm defending the person who's defending me.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? So
and just like Mark has said, I mean, I've been in a situation where I've told somebody like, "Yo, listen, what are you doing?" Then it's like, "Yo, you can get it too." Oh, but then, I'm not looking for her. I'm looking for some kind of, because the one thing is, I think as a real man, you hate to see a man hit a woman, right? But then what you hate to see is you're being this noble knight, and all of a sudden she's like, "Yo, mind your business," like, or whatever, or she's not doing any signs to say thank you, sir. You know what I'm saying? He's kicking my ass. And then when you see that, you were like, "Well, wait a minute, I'm getting in a situation with this dude, and like, I don't even know this dude. Now I got an enemy that I don't know if I'll ever see again." Yolanda Williams is in the building. She said, "Years ago, when I lived at an apartment building in the Bronx, my neighbor was being physically abused by her husband. Yep. I called 911 and he was eventually arrested. He was out several days and approached me in a hallway. He accused me of calling police and she was standing there with him. I told him, 'Dude, I'm not her. I'll F you up for real. That's my sis. So back up and miss. Your eyes were swollen before. The next time you'll be blind. He either gets help or you leave him before he kills you.' She said, 'But I love him.' And he walked away with her. 2 weeks later, they both saw me in front of the building and thanked me. They got help together and there was no more violence. Then they had a baby boy. It was a good feeling to hear these kind of things, outcomes. Yeah. See, that's the rainbow at the end of that story.
That way to approach it.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm on your side, but I'm on your side as well.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's how to approach it.
I'll tell a story.
Yeah,
exactly. A humorous story. I never forget one time a female friend of mine was having a problem with somebody, and my father saw me get off the phone, and he was like, "Well, what's wrong? What you getting?" My father sometimes I might push that button and try to turn up a little bit, especially with somebody I care. So he was like, "What happened?" So I told him, I said, "Yo, so and so said her ex doing this and that, whatever, and I'm gonna go kick his ass." He said, "You gonna go do what?" I said, "Yeah, I'm gonna go kick his ass." He said, "Yo, listen, let me tell you a story, bro." He said, "You stay out of that. They see each other later on tonight and they have sex. She be right with that dude again." So he said, "Yeah." He said, "I remember your aunt, one day told me some guy did something to her. So I go over to the house, wherever she was, and I'm going to beat this cat up." So she says, I go in there and I him dude up. And then she said, "No, William, don't hit him." He was like, "What?" He's like, "You call me." You know what I'm saying? So think about this back in whatever time, 50s, 40s, I don't know when this was. Back then, you call somebody, you got to go to the Rotary. And the person sitting there watching, you know what I'm saying? You call it a Rotary. So you really must have wanted that person to come, because, that Rotary, that's a good almost 45 to, 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, my father was like, "Yo," he said, "check this out. He said, "Don't ever call me again for this. You call me over here again, I'm gonna bust your ass." And
Exactly.
because we got to be careful, us heroes, us knights in shining armor, it can come back to haunt us. It really can. Let me read some more comments. Uh, Yolanda Padilla said, "Tell it, Enid. Women and men need to help self-love, work on their self-esteem."
Mhm.
Curtis Ali said, he said, "Miss Enid, you are on point." He said, "When you have a person, why do they exactly talk about change behavior? People will try to change you. They met you one way, but then all of a sudden they want to change you another way." Vanessa Sterling said, "Great discussion tonight. Our families are suffering from this generational dysfunction. We've got to break the cycle so we can help have healthy families in our communities." Absolutely. Um, it needs it needs to change. It needs to stop. How do we make this happen? I think that will be the dying question. I think laws. This is my personal feeling. I think laws have to be more stringent on people that commit domestic violence. Now, I'm not talking about the woman that spazzes out, caught you cheating with a girlfriend. I'm just giving a crazy scenario and takes your phone and smashes it. Yeah. I mean, dude, you lucky she smashed the phone. You know what I'm saying? She could have did worse. But does that go into domestic violence? Absolutely. We're talking about domestic violence on the no fly zone where nobody, everything is supposedly good, but one individual is finding things wrong. You know what I'm saying? The i.e. come home, my food ain't ready, old school, and then now you want to start slapping people around, or the like you said, Enid, I saw you talking to Bill on the corner. Yo, while you was laughing, you was kiki ha ha ha, but now I'm in the house, your
Right.
lip out. You know what I'm saying? What was he saying so funny? Huh?
Right.
You got him in your phone? Oh, you got texting? Oh, we went to school together. He used to date my sister. So what? Well, tell him to call your sister. Why are you calling you? Why y'all texting?
There we
Wait,
go. That's all part of that. And it all boils down as to what you were asking before, like, what is it? Why do people act like that? It's that power and control. They
yeah,
want to keep you beneath them, under them, as low as they can.
yeah,
And you can't come up for air
yeah.
because they're going to bring you right back down.
And you know what I notice a lot about it? Sometimes a lot of, and I'll say weak men with this, because you want a strong woman, but you don't want her to be strong talking back to you. You know what I'm trying to say? Now, listen, I'm not saying all women. Sometimes y'all can get a little different with your mouth. You know what I'm saying? And that, I'm not saying provoke things,
Right.
but what I'm trying to do say is that everybody should have freedom of speech to say, I didn't like this and this is why I didn't like that. You know,
Have a
because
conversation. That
because
and that's exactly what I say. Can we conversate about this? Can we have the communication? Let's
yeah,
talk about it. This made me feel this way and whatever. And don't dismiss people's feelings. I'm sorry you felt that way. That's not my intention. It wasn't my, like I didn't mean to do that or whatever. I'm sorry that and I'm sorry that there's two words. And because one is really hyphenated. It's really
no,
three.
but you know what, an instigator or a real person with a problem, when you say sorry, they say, well, why'd you do it anyway? You be like, oh, listen, like knock it off. I said sorry. Like, come on now, you pushing the bill. That's just a little humor, everybody. Sometimes you got to lighten that load.
And that's why, but if they can't accept that, if they cannot accept that, and you're truly meaning it from the bottom of your heart, and they can't accept it, well, then you know what? I can't have you accept me.
Yes, absolutely,
And it all
absolutely.
boils down to that. But this is the thing, because their emotions have been tied to that individual to this extent, like for whatever period of time it is, they
Yeah,
build emotions for that individual that now they're like, okay, well, you know what? I just won't do it again or whatever. No, because then this is where then it comes to them changing who you are.
yeah,
I
absolutely.
want to go back to what you were saying as far as the provoking. And this is where I always say every action, and I know you've heard this before from me, every action has a reaction,
Yeah,
every cause has an effect.
yes.
Right. So No, it's not right for a man to hit a woman, to call her names, to put her under, none of that. But it's also not right for the woman to hit the man, to call him out of their name, to put him on. The same rules are for the other side as well.
Yeah, like do on the others as you want done on you.
Right.
Like knock it off.
Exactly.
Let me read some comments. This is Real Talk with Enid Ocasio, and I am Bill Forster. And this is the Wednesday we bring you about domestic violence. So if you like it, please share it, subscribe to it. It's sponsored by Reggie Wells Quality Speakers. If you want some speakers, reach out to Reggie Wells. He sells them for $85, but they go, if you mention Real Talk, they go for $75. Also, if you go to any of these restaurants, Melba Wilson's, Chocolat, you never know. Mention Real Talk Chronicles. You heard their name. You're coming in to patronize them because you heard it. You never know what might happen. Also, it's sponsored by Ingram Taxes, the Daily Arts of Survival magazine, the #1 magazine in martial arts, and you can buy it on Amazon. And of course, which is very personal and dear to my heart, Soft Illusions Art Gallery, my wife and her mother's business. So please always show some love like that. Coming in from YouTube, Darren said, good evening. The red flags are usually there, and people choose to ignore them. That's absolutely. You want to comment on that while I look for another comment?
Absolutely. And I say them all the time. I said, don't dismiss them. Easier said than done. But again, it goes back to the phrase that I always say, do not get into the habit of collecting the red flags.
Right.
Again, when you have too many, it's like you're drowning under them. And I'll never forget, one of my coworkers had indicated that when he was younger, he was dating a girl. He was dating two people. He was dating two girls.
Mm-hmm.
Went to his friend's house with one girl. The other girl was friends with the friend's sister. So she ended up going to, like they didn't know that was going to happen. But when the one comes in and sees him with the one girl, she left. He never heard from her again.
Right.
And the funny thing, we laugh about it now. And even when I speak to him and I'm like, so have you heard from so-and-so? And now it's like 25 years later, he goes, she took me off her phone. Like he never saw her again.
Yeah.
She said she worked in, saw them, said what she had to say, walked out. He never saw this girl again.
Yeah, right.
He was like, she must have moved out of the state because I don't look for her high and low. And still
trying to say sorry. Yeah, exactly. Still trying to say sorry. Talk about, can we go out again?
Every time I think of that story, and I'm like, I wish I don't know who this person is, but I said, if that person would stand in front of me, I would give them such a hug.
But you know what's so funny, Enid? And I will say this, we're laughing because like Darylyn said on YouTube, she was smart. But I think if we reacted to the signs that we saw that was flags for us, as you mentioned and everybody else has said, I don't think there'd be any relationships allowed.
Avoided, right? We would have avoided a whole
lot of just dating and little my daddy across town kids, because it wouldn't be. Let me tell you something. It wouldn't be a lot of relationships like that. So I say all that to say, it's a different thing. I think with age comes maturity.
Yes.
I think what we tried to do when we were younger has backfired on us all. And I say all, I'm making a bold statement because we've gone down relationships and stayed in relationships that we know we shouldn't have been in. Men, female, all of us. You'd be like, yo, we can sit here now and I can say, oh, yo, she was bat crazy. And then I'm sure there's some people that say, yo, that Bill is a monster. You know what I'm saying to say? So with that being said, but not a monster in being physical. Right. I mean, because I might tell somebody, get the F out my face. They may have thought that was domestic violence. No, I was really serious. I wanted you to get out my face because I wasn't listening in that shit. You know what I'm saying? See, I saw the flags on some, you know what I'm saying? And I was out. I've got like they said, I eased on down the road. I knew what Dorothy was talking about and Toto and the whole crew. Let me read some comments right now. Mark said, "That's right, Bill. Most of us was raised to be that knight, but oftentimes it doesn't end that way. Usually, in a family member or someone close, they make the call that don't want to follow through, or say, "Don't hit him, and don't hit him in the face." Meanwhile, her face is all bruised up. Yeah, Mark, that's crazy. I think we've all been knights to some people, and I've even seen dudes try to be tough, and I never forget one time, how guys are, oh, that's my sister kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, dude said one day, he was like, yo, that's my sister. I was like, oh, okay, nice to meet you. He was like, yeah, if, something happened, I'm going to come see you. So I was like, okay. Well, I said, well, if something ever happens, I'll make sure you're the first one she called. So, so dude was like, what? You know what I'm saying? Like, wait a minute. You don't have to intimidate me. You know what I'm trying to say? But I get it. You want to stand strong. You want to be the tough guy. You probably really liked her. Because the bottom line is, if a man respects another woman's friend and she says, this is my brother, the bottom line, if you're a guy of character, we don't even have to have that conversation.
Right.
The conversation that we would have is, please don't shit on her. Don't dog her out. If
Right.
you don't want to be with her, she's a good girl. Treat her right.
Mm-hmm.
But if you out here just trying to put your flags up, wherever you think you are, then just go find somebody else, but not this one. That's all I ask. You know what I'm saying? But like my man Curtis said, he said, before you start to date, know your mate. Listen, Curtis, I totally agree with you. But I'll tell you one thing. If we all did the whole interview and the lay down on the couch, like I still say, a lot of people wouldn't be together, bro. I mean, and I'm talking more back then. Now we are who we are. I would hope it's easier to date, to meet somebody today. When I say meet, I mean get along. Because the bottom line is, at the ages we are and the RTC viewers are, if you don't know who you are now, you'll never know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I was gonna say I'm having the conversations with the teenagers now.
Yes.
And I'm like, give it 6 months before you even want to think about doing anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because statistics have indicated, and this is through the psychological spectrum, that statistics have verified that an individual will show true self after 6 months because they can't fake it anymore.
Right.
They have to show who they really are.
That's a good point. Let's hold that, because I want to come back to that. I just want to read some of the comments. Mark said, Bill, what if she's the aggressive type and threatens to call her family? Yo, Mark, I've seen that. I've seen a girl hit a guy, and when the guy grabbed and pushed her, she was like, oh, you touched me. I'm going to call my brother. Right? I've seen that too. Right? So the bottom line is, now you got to kind of nip and tuck that. You know what I'm saying? You got to play that on the sleeve. You got to make some phone calls yourself, because the bottom line is, force recognizes force. But you don't want a bloodbath, and you don't want to get into a whole lot of gangster shit over the situation. Like,
the threat came out. That's it. I'm out.
Yeah.
You don't want.
You got to see. Sometimes you got to walk away from that good loving if it's good. You know what I'm saying? Listen, some cats be like, "Oh, I just can't leave it alone. She crazy, but the stuff is good." Well, then deal with it. Don't talk about it.
Don't talk about it.
You know what I'm saying? Just stay with crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Don't tell me about it. I don't want to hear it.
No. I don't want nobody. I don't want no stuff that good that I gotta sacrifice me getting hit upside the head or yelled at in front of everybody or punched.
Well, the threat in and of itself is very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Forget actually having it occur.
You know what's so funny? I've known women that for those that don't know, I have a little bit of a smart mouth. Malika always says I got the mouth of a 10-year-old. So trust me, when I was younger, it was probably younger. So been around people and said something slick and a girl hit me. You know what I'm saying? And I said, stop that. I don't even play the hit game. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know how somebody say something, you say something, and somebody hit you on your shoulder? I don't, let's not even go that way. Because if I let you do it now, and you start on the shoulder or the arm, you're going to get closer to the face. You know what I'm saying? And you're not going to hit this. You know what I'm saying? Yolanda Padilla says, some people feel inadequate sexually, mentally. They feel inferior due to lack of education financially. There are so many reasons. The love you they love you, but just like themselves for their own inadequacies. You
That's
agree with that?
impossible.
Huh?
That's impossible. I get that a lot. You can't love somebody when you don't love yourself.
Mm.
That's impossible.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
People need to understand that.
right.
Uh, Curtis said, "I hate to argue with one person and try to make their point clear." Yeah, Yolanda said, "Thus, this must also be a real problem in certain home lives. We have a high percentage of violent crimes happening today, all day, every day in our community, and a lot of these crimes are done." Excuse me, I just had to expand. A lot of these crimes are done by young people, teens. We're gonna get back to that. Uh, and I've always said it comes from home. Maybe there are some parents that are emotionally or physically abused by their own children. So that's why we have these young people disrespecting authority and people in general. Curtis always said, "What's the point between listening and hearing?" Oh, we can talk about that too. Vanessa said, "We've lost the essence of being respectful towards each other in our relationships, like our elders back in the day. And back in the day, truthfully, the men and the families handled this issue related to their sisters, mothers, etc. Men had got to be involved in these areas of prevention and resolutions. Absolutely. But then we've seen men in Harlem not too long. I think it was in a year. I think it's probably over a year now. A guy does something to. Well, no, that wasn't domestic. So let me just leave that story alone. That wasn't. Mom said, no, it wasn't. Was a guy like tried to talk to this guy's girl in the hallway and he snacked her on the butt. She went upstairs and told a man, and a man came down to say something, and the dude shot him. So I mean, like, that's not domestic.
Well, it's not domestic, but it just goes to prove that that's what everyone is finding to resolve. Like that's
Yeah,
the solution now. I'll
yeah,
just shoot.
but then I was just saying that in lieu of what Vanessa was saying, how men would protect their families, which
Right.
is I would have did the same thing. But the thing is, unbeknown to you, your woman is coming home minding her own business, and somebody grabs her behind. Listen, what man is not going to go downstairs?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just a shame with that. Mark said, "I truly hope this message gets out to our people. This is good stuff right here. Thank you both. I'll do my part. Always share, and share some more. Thank you. Thank you. I just want to ask this before we get out of here, Enid. Let's talk about the youth and domestic violence. I've seen when I was working near the school system, I saw, and then when I would go speak, I would hear about a lot of young men hitting women, and the women was accepting that, and it's just dating. Now everybody knows if you had hit my daughter, you would have to move and never. You would have to go on the ground. You better team up with Jason Bourne and go become invisible because I'm coming to get you, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to stop. You know. But the thing is, I saw like this was becoming the norm.
Yeah.
So I know you're saying. So let's talk about I mean, and I don't even know how this becomes domestic violence with children because you're just dating. I know, and I understand dating, but please go ahead, elaborate.
Because there's that intimacy part of it. So there's this within the definition of
Mhm.
family, they
Yes.
also included this clause that indicates that intimate or formally intimate, whether it is sexual in nature or not,
Right. Okay.
but because there's an intimacy between the individuals. So
Okay.
now, and what we're seeing is that, our youth are very intimate towards each other, and it doesn't have to be sexual, but, they're sharing passwords to phones, they're on their locations, they're sharing everything that is happening at home. I mean, and not to get too graphic, but, the little girls are indicating when they got their period, the boys are indicating when they're feeling this, that, or the other. That's
Mhm.
intimacy.
Right.
So
Right. Right.
the
Okay.
spectrum of teen dating violence,
Hmm.
which falls under domestic violence.
Right. Wow. Everybody, that's Enid Acasio. I'm Bill Forster. This is Real Talk. If you like it, share it. If you subscribe to it, if you're on YouTube, I appreciate everybody wherever you're chiming in from. Enid, run down some quick signs of domestic violence, and then you can run down some positive affirmation, and then how people could reach you if they need to find you, and then we can get out of here. Mhm.
Okay, so some signs are, I mean, they could be the most subtle. and it's just getting frustrated out of nothing. And I always say, when an individual says it's not you, it's me, take that for value.
Okay.
There's something wrong with them, and there's not wrong with you. And then so now you have to decipher, do you want to deal with that? Because this person can, and it is not necessarily that they're bipolar. It's just that they're very moody.
Yep.
And in their mood, they're going to say, do, act, and do you want to even deal with that? Right? That's the most subtle one. What was the second part? Affirmations?
Well, yeah. I mean, I just, those are good ones when you talk about subtles, and that's a great sign. We're like, oh, you know what I'm saying? It's not you, it's me. Well, then you know what? It's not me. Maybe can you give? I think that's such a loaded question. If a woman,
it is a loaded. I can go through a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah,
right? It's just you get up and you leave your plate there, and you expecting me to go and get it. That's another sign. Or just that, how you act with others. And I always tell people, you have to observe the individual, their mannerisms, their demeanor. Do they quickly get sparked? How patient are they in circumstances? I mean, there's so many of them, but all these things are key. They're key to to their character, to their demeanor, to who they are.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, I remember in the very beginning when I was dating my ex, I mean, we can have conversations about anything, lengthy conversations and no argument or whatever. And then all of a sudden, it just, like if I didn't, like when we started, we could agree to disagree. And then all of a sudden it was like, no, that they were always right. No, you're wrong. No, shut up. Get out of here. I ain't hearing that. I was like, whoa, wait, who are you?
Yeah.
And what did you do with the other guy?
Bring his ass back. Yeah, because you're a nut job.
This one. Right.
Yeah. And then what's so funny? People look at time in a relationship as a problem because they don't want to get out of the relationship. Like I said,
they don't want to get out. I would
say you don't want to get out. I'm just saying you figure that you put in 7 years, 15 years, and then all of a sudden the thing could have been, you could have seen the signs after 5, but people don't want to have a failed relationship. And
right.
That's dating.
That's what I'm going to think.
And they're so happy somebody is with them and that's a whole nother psychological aspect. Some people just feel like, oh well, I've gotten fat. I've never been that pretty. I'm this, I'm that, and then you want to say here and take
that. But why do they do that?
Right.
Yeah, because that's what's being told to them. That's part of that psychological, where now they're finding blame in themselves, but it's all because it's been imparted on them. So that's why even when I speak to victims, I always let them know, this is not your fault. This has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
But everything to do with the other individual.
Yeah. So taking an onus,
recognize
is not blaming yourselves. Don't blame yourselves for the domestic violence.
And we always have to, again, we have to now change the frame of thinking, because it's been put in. All the negative has been put in. That's
your fault. It's your fault. Right.
It's always said that emotional abuse is worse than the physical abuse. Gotcha. And now I'm dismissing the physical. I'm not dismissing it, because that's bad. But remember, a bruise goes away. Emotions, words, names, things you've been called, it hurts much more than an actual punch, kick, slap, push, mush. Right? And not only that, but anytime you hear the phrase, whether it be in a song, whether it's from somebody else arguing, whether it's a movie or a sitcom, or you hear those words, it triggers you. It cuts you once again. You feel the emotions once again, right? So therefore, that's why we say, and I'll even go to the extent where which was really deep, where somebody actually told me I'd have preferred them to smack me, kick me, spit at me, throw me down the stairs than to say what they said.
Wow. Words say, sticks and stones don't hurt as much as words then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now that could be for somebody who you have no feelings for, that you have no connection to and no relationship for, right? You, yeah, the words will just bounce off. It's just like, the whole.
Yeah, brush your shoulders off. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But now when it's coming from the person who you care the most for, that you have a deep relationship with, emotions, that cuts like a knife. And every time you hear those words, they're going to cut like a knife. I can tell you, and because I've always been transparent. Many of cases that I've had to sit back. I've had to turn around, take a breather, get some air because I've been triggered. Because again, I didn't deal a lot with the physicality of it, which is why in the beginning I never characterized myself as a victim. But I dealt with a lot of the emotional and the psychological, where I thought I was the nobody, do nothing, can't get anything for myself kind of a thing. And I was sunk for a very long time. But because that's what they drill in you to the point where you start to believe it. And the reason why many of times we don't get out, and I say we as victims, not we as women, just victims in general, is because we have been sunk so low that we start to believe. That we're just going to go back to the whole, that cycle. Right. So, and
everybody, that's Enid Acacia. Exactly, Acacia. Curtis said, no matter how well she treats you, you don't put your hands on her. I have a daughter. God forbid if her male friend disrespect her, I'm getting locked up with a storyline. Absolutely. Shout out to everybody that's chiming in. This is Real Talk Chronicles. That's Enid Acacia. Listen, Enid, give them some way they can reach you if they need you. And don't just call her about some dumb nonsense. Call if you're going to call her and you mentioned that you saw on Real Talk Chronicles, please come with a story, because if you don't know anything about Enid, she's passionate. So she's an advocate for this. So, if you put up the DV sign, she's like the female, she's that woman. She's going to come. You know what I'm saying? She's going to come. So, but don't give us smoke and mirrors. Don't say, "Oh, I'm a victim of domestic violence." But we going to the concert. We're going to see Earth, Wind, and Fire tomorrow. So don't mess this shit up. You know what I'm saying? Or Mark Anthony, like, knock it off. You know what I'm saying? Like, can you do something about it next week Tuesday? You know what I'm saying? Because I got brunch with my girls.
I got things to do, places for people to see.
Yeah, exactly. Call about some real shit. Can everybody give some hearts up for Enid, please. Give us some hearts. Enid, she's my Facebook friend, so if she gets a chance, she'll go back if she wants to in her leisure. She can comment or reply to any of you all.
Yes, absolutely. I am on Facebook under Enid Ocasio. I am on Instagram as I think it's Ocasio 1018. I forget. I'm also on Twitter, Enid Ocasio. I'm on Snapchat, but I don't really use that. I am on LinkedIn, Enid Ocasio. You will see all the things that I am working on. I'm actually starting a support group this very Friday, virtually. So if you are interested, DM me on any of those platforms, your email, and I will send you an invite, and you can come on in.
And it's good because support groups are great, because women who have gone through this need to be able to converse with each other. It's not over. It's not over.
Right. Exactly. And that and I always say we have to have this conversation. We have to talk about it because it's the only way we're going to heal. But on top of that, we need to encourage each other. We need to uplift each other. Stop talking about each other. Stop gossiping about each other. Stop putting ourselves down or anyone else out. We are all one, and we need to look out for each other. So therefore, let's stand up, and let's stand up together and have one voice.
Absolutely.
Right. And also partnering up with many other individuals. I always say, let's bring back it takes a village. Right.
Absolutely.
That's why things functioned back then. Because you know what? When my mom's friends saw me doing something out of character or whatever, they're pulling me over aside and they're like, yo, don't do that. I'm telling your mother. And we were, don't do that. Right. Yeah. But we need to bring everybody together. And Bill knows me. I will go into business owners. I will go into bodegas. I will go into anywhere. And I mean, I walked in with a victim one time and I said, listen, the next time this young lady comes into the store and asks for a ham and cheese with extra ketchup, call 911. That's the sign. Call 911. Right. And this happened after the whole Junior story with the explosion, where now, and they were more than willing to collaborate with us. Right. So again, just getting everybody involved. We all have to get involved. We all have to stand up for the cause. It's not just domestic violence, it's gun violence. It's, there's all types of violence out there.
Yeah.
And when somebody comes up and says that they need assistance, you give what you can. Don't get upset. I know we discussed this already. Don't get upset if they're not coming after you or whatever. Take Yolanda, was it the comment? Take her approach, right? Take her approach and say, listen, I will do this, but I'm going to do this for you, and I'm doing it for both of you.
Absolutely.
Again, we got to let people know that we care, whether you are on the right side or on the wrong side. And with that, I'm going to give you an affirmation, which is you are loved, you're cared for, and there is somebody out there who wants to see you rise and come above all.
Wow.
That's right? Beautiful. Therefore, be it me, and there are a lot of people out there who don't even know you, but they will lend the helping hand.
Yeah. Everybody, this is the segment. That's Enid Ocasio. I'm Bill Forster. This is the segment of domestic violence. And you said October is Domestic Violence Month, right?
It's the awareness month, but of course, we talk about it all year long.
No, but absolutely. But I'm just saying, definitely, I know we will see a abundance of you in October. You're always welcome back. If you ever have any information, just hit me up and be like, yo, Bill, I want to come on and chop it up. Even if it's for 5 minutes, I have some intel, or, you want to ever come back anytime and just want to have your own segment like tonight, just reach out to me. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. First Monday of the month, Assemblyman Al Taylor. The second Monday of the month, Dr. Marilyn Corder. The third Monday of the month, and the reason why I said Pastor Kevin Graves is because that's how I met Enid. So shout out to Pastor Kevin Graves. The third Monday of the month, the First Lady of Def Jam, Allison Williams. And the fourth Monday this month, we have Dr. Fred Corder coming in talking about mental illness and stuff like that. So please tune in for that. And every Wednesday, usually I got Kev or Chuck and Rich, or I have Rich, Chuck, and Kev. But today I had Enid by herself. So thank you, Enid.
Rick, Chuck, and Kev.
No, it's all right. Rich was watching in. Chuck, Rich was watching in. Kev's away, probably counting rocks up in the mountain somewhere, and Chuck is doing what Chuck do. So everybody, appreciate you all. Enid, have a wonderful evening. Thank you. You're always welcome back. And you told them how to. Okay, everybody, you know how to do. She's tagged in this post. Okay. So listen, she'll go back and comment. Reach out to her. Listen, I don't want Enid to tell me I got the stupidest
variety of things. So reach out.
And there isn't really any stupid question, but just don't have her get involved in situations that you're really not trying to leave, or you have a friend that has a friend that has a friend, but their friend is not trying to leave the domestic violence. They just want him to stop hitting up, but they love him. Once you start hearing those, that's a whole nother conversation. I don't even want to talk about that. I love him, like you said, but I just want him to stop beating my ass, but I don't want to really break up with him. Listen, I can't help you. You know what I'm saying? Good night, everybody.
Good evening. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Hold on, Enid.